Mesdames et messieurs,
The greatest festival of our contemporary society, the Olympic Games, is about to begin.
This is gonna be close.
Oh! They're all completely gassed! They've given it everything on the global bucket! Oh, yeah! No! Oh!
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. But that is an Olympic championship.
Ready?
Hello and welcome to another episode of Keep the Flame Alive, the podcast for fans of the Olympics and Paralympics. If you love the games, we are the show for you. I am your host, Jill Jarris, joined as always by my lovely co-host, Allison Brown. Allison, hello. How are you?
I am doing okay. How are you doing?
It's been a few weeks. We have not seen each other for a few weeks.
This is true. This is again, we say this every once in a while whenever we take little breaks. It's like, oh my goodness, I was with you 24 hours a day in Milan. And then I don't see you for a month. It is like the strangest relationship
It
ever.
very much is. It very much is. We have had a few weeks off that you may not have noticed because we still had shows going on. But we needed some time to recover and deal with family health issues. And also, I found mountains and mountains of problems that have piled up over the last 8 years. So I have been slowly chipping away at those. And, we're back. Just in time for like a ton of news.
I know. We came in we timed this actually quite well.
Yes.
Yay us. Pat on the back for us. But I think chipping away at administrative problems should be part of Fit for the Future and an event.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Right.
But we will get to that.
Oh, right. First, okay, so we are going, just buckle up, people, buckle up. We've got a lot of news. We have a lot of big news. So we're just going to get started right away with Milano Cortina.
Buongiorno, Milano.
Oh, buongiorno and arrivederci.
Yes.
So Milano Cortina 2026 has released its final report. You got to do some deep reading on this one, which I did do today.
I was going to say, you love a final report. There's nothing that excites you more than an organizing committee's final report.
I know, but what I love more is the organizing committee's final report where they talk numbers, like budget numbers. They're happy to talk a lot of other numbers here, like engagement numbers and how much we have saved the environment numbers. What they don't really talk about is like how much we spent and how much over budget we were. So I wish they would do that. There are many things that I read between the lines here. So the IOC talked a lot about how having spread out venues like Milano Cortina was, which was spread out over like 400 miles. And it's not like Paris where we had sailing in Marseille, and not take the Tahiti thing out of the question because it looks like every Olympics is getting its own Tahiti now.
Right.
But take, in Marseille, and they were up in Lille. So they're a few hours away, but that's like one event. This was kind of like we take most of our sports and spread them out across 400 miles.
We spread ourselves very thin.
They did. So the IOC did talk about how this is a possible model for the future and how feasible it is. They talked about the sustainability initiatives, touting that 85% of competition venues were existing or temporary, and most venues used renewable electricity. And this one I thought was interesting and wished they had gone further in on. They used 24,000 items from Paris 2024. It's like Paris packed up a bunch of stuff and shipped it to Milan. What that was, I don't know.
You know what one of them definitely were those chairs that the volunteers would sit on, those really high chairs.
Like the lifeguard chairs thing?
The lifeguard chairs. I bet those were recycled from Paris. They just painted them.
Yes, I bet you're right. So I'm not too sure what else got reused, but it's nice that they just said, we got all the stuff that we can just send to you.
I wonder if some of them were, again, like the volunteer signs, like this way. The big foam fingers that were just pointing us in the correct direction.
Right. Well, they did have big foam fingers.
Exactly.
It's fun going from games to games and seeing what elements stay.
Foam fingers
was one of them. The report says that the games accelerated nearly 100 local infrastructure projects, with over 3 billion euros of investment. You know, I love a good infrastructure project that only happens because the games has a deadline.
I mean, we saw all kinds of road construction happening up in the mountains when we were driving through. So I can only imagine what had been happening then in the previous 5 years.
Right. One thing I want to talk about is the Celebrity Olympics Fan Initiative. I did not know this was an official initiative, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So this built off a successful Paris 2024. And my guess is, because, well, they had the Trois Coupes. And so you had to get celebrities for that. And of course, you have Snoop Dogg walking around everywhere and Flava Flav. And I'm sure there were other celebrities in and about Paris. This was a coordinated initiative with relationship building across more high-profile guests whose presence was leveraged for visibility, if I can put that last bit into quotes. Some of these celebrities got accreditation, ticketing, dedicated support, and bespoke gifting.
I would like a bespoke gift.
Right? More than 360 celebrities from 34 nations were involved in this initiative. That included Snoop, Jeff Goldblum, we'll get to him in a second, Emil Livingston, Novak Djokovic, Simone Biles, Sung Hoon, Donatella Versace, Vera Wang, and Ilona Maher. And that resulted in the celebrity accounts from these 360 celebrities generated 347 million engagements from 1,000 posts. So you got to be a celebrity and you could post less than 3 times and you might get
a bespoke gift.
Yes, get a bespoke gift. And I know people are we're tired of you complaining about no backpack, Jill. But
no, because it's not the no backpack. Because Paris gave us a water bottle.
Right.
And they gave us something to say, you matter.
Yes. Yes. And we have clearly fallen to the bottom of the pool.
Yeah.
The bottom of the ocean, the dregs. That's where I feel like we are now. So how'd the public do on social media? They had 1 billion engagements from 839,000 posts by the public and other media referencing the Olympics and celebrities. So if you're as we said, you're in the celeb program, you get a ton of special treatment. You may have to do an in-house interview like Simone did. I saw her in figure skating and it post on social less than 3 times. And there are social accounts like us who post, why are they interviewing Jeff Goldblum?
Now we know.
Milano
but
saw that.
That's still engagement.
I know. They were like, that's positive engagement. Those ladies over at Keep the Flame Alive are talking about Jeff Goldblum. Woo-hoo! Oh my gosh. So I did not, I mean, yes, you have celebrities and it made a big splash. I mean, what did you think of seeing the celebrities in Milano, which was in a way random, but in a way like the in-house guest at some places?
I remember it more seeing the Where's Waldo elements that we saw in Paris, where you and I would text each other, oh, so-and-so is, Tom Cruise is in the house. Or like that celebrity was a lot of fun. The random guests I found kind of irritating, to be honest, because I want the focus to be on the event, not on the celebrity.
Right. And depending on who it was, like, why is Simone at figure skating?
Right. I mean, at least there, she's a gold medalist and she can speak to, what the nerves are like. And that doesn't bother me as much as Jeff Goldblum. Like, I mean, as much as I adore Jeff Goldblum, what is he bringing to the table here?
Right. And why Jeff Goldblum? That's what I want to know. Out of all the celebrities you could pick across all the countries, Jeff Goldblum made your list?
Well, to be honest, he's so enthusiastic whenever you see him at an event on the Jumbotron.
Right.
That I could see why you would want him, because he's not going to be cold or unfeeling. He's going to be, this is the greatest moment I've had all year. This is just so exciting for me. I've defeated aliens, but here I am at luge. And it is so much better.
right? So again, lack of numbers. I would love to know how much this initiative cost.
Yeah.
This
Who's
had to be
paying for
big.
this?
Yes, and besides accreditation, are you paying a fee? Do you pay travel expenses? What are you paying for? Moving on to the Cultural Olympiad, 500 plus projects for the Cultural Olympiad, 2,000 plus artworks created or specifically commissioned, along with a host of other things. But it was pretty impressive, I thought, that, and we kept
Yes.
seeing stuff here and there, like just random Cultural Olympiad moments.
We saw it around Milan, not as much as we did in Paris. I think because Paris had that Paris Media Center that did such a good job of highlighting all the stuff that was going on in the city. And Milan did have a media center, but it was much smaller.
Right.
And once we got tuned in with them, then we started seeing the different things and getting some of that environment. But yeah, it's really exciting to see when the Cultural Olympiad takes root and has that effect on the city.
Back to the report of the 2 new venues that were late. Well, it's because the developers were late in handing them off. And so all of the timelines got compressed from then on, to which one would think maybe you should have started the project sooner.
But the projects that were totally under the OCOG, like the sliding center, got done somehow.
It got done, but they were tight on time. And I think it really compressed everything else. And I get that the pandemic really put a harsh on the groove of Milano Cortina in ways that we don't remember, because the early planning and things getting launched was right at the start of the pandemic, basically.
And Italy got hard hit early.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have to give them a little grace there. They learned some lessons on event delivery.
I bet they did.
So they used what they called event delivery entities to run venue operations in the different clusters. And so the mileage varied on how well they did. And the OCOG noted that the entities may have been strong in knowledge of a sport, or they've been strong in knowing the venue really well, but they didn't necessarily get the Olympic system as a whole. They didn't get Olympics. And that meant experiences in Anterselva, where biathlon was, Val di Fiemme, which I believe was like cross-country ski jumping area, and Cortina were vastly different and inconsistent. And the first 2 of those were effective in sport, but needed, quote, clear guidance to align with Olympic-specific requirements. And in Cortina, they didn't have capacity at the local level to do this. So local expectations weren't aligned. Town didn't have resources. They just kind of assumed that the OCOG or the entity would pick up the slack, and sounds like things fell through the cracks. Transportation. They did not prioritize cross-cluster travel, which
really,
yeah, and it really comes across that they didn't understand that people needed to travel across clusters. And I will say, as I'm reading this, I hear somebody I overheard at para-alpine skiing go, I really don't want to have to drive back to cross-country and biathlon again. Like they had been doing that for days, back and forth.
Yeah. Well, we knew this. We couldn't cross-culture ourselves across venues.
So stakeholders had to adapt. That created duplication and limitations in different places, like limiting our ability to cover half of the events or more.
Right.
Like, really.
Because we had the whole issue of there are trains that we can't go on, and there were buses that stopped running. And that was just during para. Never mind during the Olympics, where there was a weather issue and they just stopped running things. So there were probably a whole bunch of people who were driving cars with one person in them back and forth and all around northern Italy, where if you had just had cross-cluster busing that, you know, actually worked with a time schedule that made sense, it could have saved a lot of issues and gotten better coverage.
Right. And better use of resources.
Right.
Athlete experience. Athletes like the proximity between accommodations and venues, but aspects of the games that are unique to the Olympic experience, like meeting other people from other sports and feeling national pride, that was severely diminished. if you had a traditional Olympic Village experience, 74% were satisfied with that. If you were in the single sport hotel accommodation, 53% of athletes were satisfied with that. You really could tell that if you were in a single sport area, they were not thrilled about it.
No, because it just felt like a world championship event. It didn't feel like they were there. I would be curious to see the breakdown of this Olympics versus Paralympics.
Yes.
That would be interesting to see if that made a difference, but they don't have those breakdowns.
No. The fan experience was also uneven. Too difficult to experience the event as a whole because it was so spread out. Many people were required to stay outside of local competitions and had significant travel that they had to do to get there. And when they bought tickets, they didn't get great information about travel times or accommodations. And it just were really frustrated about that. If you were in a remote venue, you had little support, maybe few activities. So that was also frustrating. And then fan villages and on-site programming were developed too late, and then they got diluted because of the deadlines, and they couldn't do it. Livigno apparently did a great job with fan activation, so that was cool to hear. And then the ceremonies, when they spread the Parade of Nations out across villages, stakeholders and athletes especially liked that. And I liked it for the athletes too, but they noted that the experience in the stadium was impacted.
We would agree.
Yeah. They did acknowledge that stakeholder operations got really complicated. And they said, for sponsors, it was a cool opportunity because they got to spread stuff across locations and reach more people. So if you're a sponsor looking for more customers, all right, I get it. But everybody else, that was not great news. This was where that was really telling, because they said if doing this model in the future, they recommend that organizing committees should assess the stakeholder implication before confirming the game's footprint. Like, they should have thought about this at the bid stage.
Right.
And it sounded like they did a really bad job of understanding how much stakeholders got affected.
I hope French Alpes is reading this report half as closely as you are. Because, we'll get to what they've announced, but it feels like it's going to be even more thinly spread.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it because I disagree.
Okay.
There's an element that's bad. And we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Okay.
To each
put a pin in that.
Right? To each games, they're Tahiti. Let's just say. One last note about Milano Cortina. Canadian Paralympic medal winners got a bonus payment from the Paralympic Foundation of Canada. And for the first time, this payment equals the Olympic bonus that Canadian athletes get. So they got $20,000 for gold, $15,000 for silver, and $10,000 for bronze. It's very nice. We're going to go to LA next, but before we get to LA news, we wanted to let you know about a fun opportunity over on our Patreon page. That's patreon.com/flamealivepod. I've been cleaning out the files and I found a lot of pictures. Like a lot of pictures.
And let me tell you something. These are a ton of pictures that I've never seen. So I'm having fun with what you've been putting on Patreon.
Yes. So during June, July, and August, we are celebrating the Summer of Nostalgia and sharing never before seen photos and videos from games we've attended in person. If you listen to our daily games recap episodes, you will know that we find the unusual to showcase. So in June, we looked at Beijing 2022. Looking at Paris now, and August will be Milano Cortina 2026. You can get access to these fun things two ways. Join our Patreon. So all paying members get photos. And if you are at the $5 a month up category, you will also get a couple of videos a week. And the photos are like 5 days a week. So you're getting a lot of content for like next to nothing. Let me tell you. You can also buy these as a collection. For a flat fee, you can get access to photos, to videos, or to both. So check it out, patreon.com/flamealivepod. Our patrons ensure that the show keeps going, and they cover operating expenses, which have increased this year due to vendor price hikes. We are on the lookout for more people to join our patrons. So get your dose of games nostalgia today at patreon.com/flamealivepod. All right, we have LA 2028 news.
We have a Paralympic schedule.
We do. Paralympics are starting on a Tuesday, but really they start on Sunday because we have day -1 and day -2.
Yeah.
Every games now is day -1, day -2, and now we have like day -4 for LA.
Yeah.
Why can't they just change the opening day?
They just won't do that. They just can't do that. That is turning the Titanic. They're just going to keep adding minus days until we don't know what day we're in from the very beginning.
6 months long.
It'll be like St. Louis all over again.
All right. So competition is starting with wheelchair rugby. And bocce also starts the competition. The closing ceremonies are on Sunday, August 27th, along with 7 finals for blind football, athletics, badminton, climbing, para-powerlifting, sitting volleyball, and wheelchair basketball.
Yeah, in Paris, we had powerlifting and wheelchair basketball. I remember because we were both at those.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think there was events in all of these.
I don't think so either. I mean, it really
that's a
closed
lot
out,
for closing day. Because sitting volleyball definitely was over before then because we had seen it.
Yes.
It was the day before.
So, yeah, it's going to be a big, big day on closing ceremonies day. Super Saturday is day 11th. That's Saturday, August 26th. 13 sports going on that day. Everything except football will have a medal event.
Nice.
Paraclimbing is new this year. It's the last 4 days of the games, 8 events going on there. Para table tennis and para triathlon will have additional women's classification. This is the result of splitting up a class that was combined before. So now we have more people involved with the sport. That means we can separate people into classes and have more equality in terms of the level of disability in each class. So that's a good thing. That's always a good sign when more people can
when
compete.
you've got more classes, that means more people in the class.
Yeah. And then para swimming is going to have a new relay for swimmers with intellectual impairments. If you're a ceremonies person, they will both be held at the LA Memorial Coliseum. Paracycling road and time trials will start and finish at the LA Zoo. And the Paramaya Marathon is going to start at Venice Beach and finish in front of the Coliseum. So big, huge venues on some of these. The zoo is going to be cool. I wonder what some of these animals will think. I don't know if that means you ride by the animals. I think that would be awesome.
You're just out front.
It could be you're out front. But it would be funny to see what the animals think of all of this. If they have penguins, just bring them out and have them do their penguin dance.
Have them do a little dance.
We have ticket drop number 2 is scheduled. It seems weird that it's only ticket drop number 2.
I know, because it feels like we've been talking about ticketing for literally a year at least.
So ticket drop number 2 will be August 10 through 20. Tickets will be available for all sports and at all price points. We'll say right now, don't expect to get those $28 tickets. And if you do, you are very lucky. That's all I'm going to say. If you're already registered, you are still in the ticket lottery. If you're not registered, you can go through tickets.la28.org. Registration is open through July 22. If you did not get selected for the first lottery, you're still eligible. You don't have to re-register for that. Lottery is random. So if you don't get in this time, there's going to be other drops. I can guarantee you that.
Oh, right. Not everything is going to be sold. And then continually, as they set up final plans, they add seats and tickets get released. So even if you're in, ticket drop 6, there's still going to be tickets at the last minute. And then we haven't even talked about the resale platform.
Right.
We don't have that information yet. So if you're a year ahead, 2-year ahead planner, fantastic. If you are a 2-month ahead planner, we will get you. Don't worry.
Exactly. There are ticket maximums, of course. And if you haven't reached the maximum, you can still be selected for this lottery as well. 12 tickets for Olympic events plus 12 football tickets per account. Ceremonies are maximum 4. That does count toward your 12 ticket maximum. Now there's going to be a visa pre-sale.
You can't use anything else.
So that pre-sale is July 29 through 31. You get notified on July 27th. You must confirm your status as a Visa card holder before July 22. And how you do that is if you're already in the ticket draw, go back to your LA 2028 tickets account, check the pre-sale box for the Visa pre-sale box and save changes. If you're registering for the first time, check that Visa box when you sign up. So you can not register multiple accounts, only one registration per person, and it's got to be the same as your LA 28 account. Random drawing again. If you get selected for the Visa presale, you will be out of the main ticket drop. But if you don't get selected, no big deal. You'll still get possibilities in that ticket drop.
And all of these registration are no commitment.
Correct.
You don't have to buy tickets if you get selected for this, if there's no tickets that you want in there. So don't feel compelled because you got picked to buy tickets that you don't actually really want to go to. Right. Because like we said, marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. The LA 2028 has finalized the cycling routes. The Olympic road race will start at Venice Beach Boardwalk and end at Griffith Observatory, which, if you are familiar with that, is on a hill. So
it's on a very big hill.
It is a big hill. Yes. The road time trial will start at the LA Zoo and finish at the observatory. So they're both in Griffith Park. So both those things are in Griffith Park. So I wonder if it's just a loop up there.
Mm-hmm.
Volunteer application that will open on July 14. So that is coming up. Finally.
I know.
You must be 18 years or older at application time. You must be proficient in reading and writing English. They did not specify proficiency in speaking English.
Well, there are jobs who, even if you don't speak English terribly well, but if you read and write it, you could do.
Yes.
And they always are looking for other language proficiency as well.
Definitely. You have to be available for 80 hours during a games period. That is 10 8-hour shifts, non-consecutive. The Olympic Games period is March through August 2028, and then the Paralympic Games period is August through September 2028. Application will be online. They say it'll take about a half an hour to do. You'll be asked for personal information, your past experience in volunteering and in sport. If you have any specialties, like do you have medical skills or things like that, where you would like to be located. There will be Greater LA, Oklahoma City, but there's also going to be the football tournament cities. So New York, Columbus, Ohio, Nashville, St. Louis, San Jose, and San Diego will also need some volunteers. They'll ask you for your clothing sizes. And if you don't have experience, don't worry. If you still want to be a volunteer, apply. That's not necessarily going to ding your application if you don't have a ton of experience in volunteering and in sport, but, they're looking for all kinds.
They really are, because, all the volunteers that we've run into, there are so many jobs and so many skill sets that they need that you may think, oh, I don't have a skill set that really could be used. You would be surprised.
And they do like the young people applying.
They do like the youngins.
Apply early so you don't miss the deadline. That's what they're hoping. They say there will be 3 phases for selection. That's application, assessment, and training. If you are selected for an assessment, that's going to be done either in LA or virtually. If you are selected, then there will be online training. Those assessments and selections will take place on a rolling basis throughout 2027. So don't really expect to hear something for a few months after you apply. They are planning for 60,000 volunteers. 20,000 of them will be allocated to sport. How many applications do you think they're going to actually get?
Oh, over 1 million.
You think over 1 million? Okay.
I think they're going to get 1 million.
Writing this down. Allison thinks 1 million. Okay. I think... Oh, gosh, that makes me want to raise mine. I was going to say like 200,000,
Okay.
but I might go up to 300,000. Well, we'll do Price is Right rules, closest to without going over.
Well, then I'm going to lose.
Okay, if you Price is Right rules, how would you change that?
Then I would say 800.
800. Okay, Price is Right rules is 800. Final answer.
That's my final answer.
I will stick with 200,000. But
Okay.
it could be 300. I'll be wishy-washy. Volunteer roles. You can fall into the following categories: ceremonies, communications, driving, experience, medical, operations, sport, or technology. They'll ask what you want to do. It's not guaranteed you'll get there unless you have some specialties. So be flexible. Remember, volunteer roles are unpaid. No expenses are covered. So if you are traveling, you will have to pay for your travel and your accommodations while you are there. You do get cool kit, and you get the experience of a lifetime.
All the volunteers we've spoken to, it's always been just an incredible experience for them.
Good luck if you apply. And if you get anywhere in the application process, let us know. We'd want to hear from you, especially if we think we'll be able to see you somewhere. Although
Like
that's
if
not
you get
even
assigned
guaranteed.
a media center.
Yeah. I mean, that's not even guaranteed. I think Valia was at speed skating.
Yes.
And never ran into her.
Never
Yeah.
ran into her. Never there when we were there.
LA City Council has decided to change one of its street names at their May 27th meeting. They unanimously voted to change the name of 39th Street between Main and Figueroa to Paralympic Way. So that's very cool. The Association of Summer Olympic International Federations had its General Assembly, and the Chief Sport and Games Delivery Officer for LA 2028, who is Shayna Ferguson, she had some interesting information. So LA will have 4 Olympic villages. They're going to have UCLA in LA. They're going to have one in Oklahoma City, of course. UC Irvine in Orange County will be one, and there's going to be one in Northeast Los Angeles County as well. LA has 720 employees as of that General Assembly. They expect to be 6,000 full-time staff when the games start. So if you are looking for a job, see what jobs are open at LA 2028. We don't really talk about the LA CEO, Reynold Hoover, who is, if you remember LA 1984, he's the Peter Uberoth of the games. We talk a lot about Casey Wasserman.
Wasserman, right. But he's the chair.
Yes.
He's not the CEO.
Right.
So Casey Wasserman is more the public face.
Right.
And Reynold Hoover is doing some heavy lifting.
Although Peter Uberoth was still more of the public face but I think Casey Wasserman was just so out there and is so well known that that's just the face. But let's talk a little bit about Reynold Hoover. He is a retired 3-star Army general. So he's getting that organization into shape.
I would love to work in an office with him.
Oh my gosh. They are already talking through potential scenarios, and they will start simulations in 2027. And they plan to do tests focusing on sport technology, venue infrastructure, and event management. I am very excited that this games will be run really well. That is my hope.
Fingers crossed.
The Modern Pentathlon International Federation, UIPM, signed a licensing contract with TBS for a Sasuke Ninja Warrior course to be at LA 2028. Oh my gosh, I love Ninja Warrior.
Yes, but Ninja Warrior does not belong in Modern Pentathlon.
That you know of yet. I keep meaning to watch a World Cup, and I haven't gotten there yet. They are going to use certain Sasuke Ninja Warrior intellectual property. And I mean, by Sasuke, I mean the Japanese version, not necessarily the American version that we see here. And that means like the design of certain obstacles. And the deal also includes collaboration and global cross promotion in the run up to LA 28. So that's a huge coup, I think, for Modern Pentathlon, because when Ben and I had talked to a young junior pentathlete while we were in line for the bus after Modern Pentathlon, and she's like, yeah, people are getting through this obstacle course really quickly.
It's too easy.
Yeah, too easy and too similar. So I'm sure the Sasuke, and then people know Sasuke, so they're going to be like, oh, I want to tune into this event. And we'll get into, when we hit 2030, staying relevant and increasing popularity, Modern Pentathlon made a big move. Hospitality House news. my gosh, we still have so much to talk about. Thanks. I had tipped a lot to Rich Perlman over the Sports Examiner and over to the House Party blog. That's houseparty.blog if you have not found them before. They have a lot of House Party news. So there's going to be a House of Switzerland in Santa Monica at the Camera Obscura building on Ocean Avenue. It will have views of the Pacific Ocean. They get the building from June 14 through September 21, 2028. There's potential for them to also use part of Palisades Park with this endeavor. Club France will be at Annenberg Beach House and will have the property from June 30 to August 4, which makes me think no Paralympics. Club France. That's sad, seeing that you just hosted. Belgian House will be in downtown LA, no confirmed location yet. Team Ireland House will be at Ovation Square in Long Beach, and they're going to partner with restaurants The Ordinaire and The Old Dubliner for food. Japan House has been proposed for a temporary dome and more at Mangrove parking lot on East Temple Street in Little Tokyo in LA. And Team USA is in negotiations with Santa Monica to put Team USA House at the Santa Monica Pier in Sandbox South. 85,000 square feet of sand south of the pier to Acadia Terrace. That's going to be a house, a big house. And I know they're going
very
all out.
Big house.
I wonder how much the tickets will be for this if it's public.
Oh, geez.
Right?
A lot.
This appears to be a new trend. More sports are going to have their own houses. Fencing will have one. Artistic Swimming has announced that it will have a house at Alter Society Brewing and Coffee Company in Long Beach. That's less than a mile from the venue. And it will be open on the days that Artistic Swimming is competing. That's July 25 through 29 for 5 hours after the events have ended. $300 per person per day. But kids under 5 are free.
Oh, geez.
That gets you all-inclusive food and beverages, Olympian appearances and autograph signings, watch parties, because they'll show stuff after the events, sponsor stuff, and the opportunity to buy merch. So a lot of LA stuff.
Au revoir, French Alpes, 2030. Bonjour, Alpes. And I was looking at this going, is it Alpe? No, it's just Alps. It's no different. They just dropped the French.
How many people are going to say Alpe?
Many. Many.
So French Alpes has had so many things go on. Let's start with the logo. People
It's
on
a
the
mountain.
Facebook group. It's a mountain. It's a mountain or the absence of a mountain.
Right.
So the Alps 2030 Olympic logo is a mountain in lines that is blue, and over to the end of the mountain it's kind of orangish, reddish.
Pink.
Yeah.
I think that's pink.
And then the Paralympic logo, the mountain is just white. There's a white triangle surrounded by rays
The streaks
coming
of
off of it.
color.
Yes, exactly. Thoughts on this logo?
I like it. I know a lot of people were like, oh, it's so boring. I think it's very effective in that it's simple, but the two logos are distinct but together. You know, the mountain or the absence of the triangle or the triangle. I liked that. I like the color scheme that they're going with the blues and the pinks. I don't see the problem here.
I don't either. There was a little bit of Tron talk, and I get that with these rays out, but I agree with you. I like the fact that they complement each other very well, and that the mountain of the Olympics is supposed to fit into the white space of the Paralympic model logo. So I think it's cool. It's different from Milan. I think there's an element of class to it. Somebody said there's a little bit of throwback to the Albertville 1992, I think, in the type a bit. So I kind of like that as well. It's not a bad logo.
I think it works.
Curious.
It works for Alpes. And what sports are going to be in Alpes?
Oh my gosh. Oh geez. Let's talk sports. Oh, this is great. So In the time we've been off, we've had IOC executive board meetings. We've had an IOC extraordinary session. We've had another IOC executive board meeting today. And sport-wise, Alps 2030 said we would like ski mountaineering to stay. And the IOC said, okay, that sounds good. So skimo
We
is
like that.
back. That is nice. Then they have added many new disciplines. Now, we're going to have to start talking about things in terms of sports and disciplines and events, because that is how the IOC is going to classify everything in the future. So a sport would be something like skiing, and skiing has a lot of disciplines like ski jumping, alpine, cross country. Those are all skiing disciplines. An event would be something like the women's downhill. Think of it like that. In the summer, you have something like swimming as a sport, but artistic swimming, diving, water polo, those are all disciplines within swimming, that kind of thing.
Right. And then the event would be 200-meter butterfly.
Butterfly, yes.
If you're confused, that's okay.
We'll get used to it. So it's a process, because the IOC has been working on figuring out how the sport gets into the Olympics.
Right, because they did away with demonstration sports ages ago. And now it's been, the host city can pick sports to put in, and sometimes they stay and sometimes they go, but there's no official process anymore.
Right.
And they want to do away with how does the IOC not have an official process for something? That's just wrong.
I can see that happening. I can see
It's happened to us over 8 years, right? You've been cleaning up the no official process, but we don't have Kirsty Coventry yelling at us.
I know, but
telling us how to do things.
I will say she is inspiring me to be fit for the future in terms of getting this boat in order.
I know.
So big excitement is they're adding disciplines and events in 4 sports. So biathlon will now have a mixed singles relay. Figure skating is adding a synchro 9 event.
I'm just a little excited about that.
I'm excited that they're actually adding synchro,
because it's thrilled.
It's a beautiful event to watch.
It's everything that we love about figure skating without the insane drama.
And the potential hip replacements.
That too.
And I think having the 9s event, because typically what synchro teams are like 15 or so?
I was going to say 16.
Yeah, they're very large. So cutting it down and having a smaller event, I think really helped get them into the Olympics. So this will be beautiful to watch. Speed skating will have a men's and team sprint and a women's team sprint event. So I'm excited to see what that's going to be like. Ski
Chaos is what that's going to be.
Ski and snowboard is adding free ride as a discipline, with men's ski, men's snowboard, women's ski, and women's snowboard events. Freestyle skiing will add a mixed team ski cross. Snowboard I know. Snowboard will add a mixed team snowboard parallel event. Ski jumping is adding a women's super team. Ski mountaineering is adding the individual discipline onto the Milano Cortina program, which was men's and women's sprints and a mixed relay. So now we get a men's and women's individual. So everybody who
they'll
said
be longer.
Yes.
That we were all saying we want these races to be longer. We didn't really get a chance to get into the sport. They listened to us, Jill.
Right? Yes.
It's all about what we had to say.
Right. So very excited that there's going to be, if you're bringing Skimo back, let's have more of it.
Yes.
If it's that popular, let's bring it back. No longer on the program.
Nordic combined.
They
They dealt with the problem of not having a women's event by cutting the men's event, which we had been anticipating.
Yes.
We said they're either going to have to add the women's event, because you can't have an event, or really in this case, a discipline, with only men.
Right. And they're really pushing the gender equality and gender parity, because they know winter's just not getting gender equality soon. So 2 things were on the docket for cutting, and that was snowboard parallel giant slalom and Nordic combined. Parallel giant slalom has improved. Nordic did not. And so across most of the popularity indicators, Nordic combined ranked lowest among all Olympic Winter Games discipline at Sochi, Pyeongchang, Beijing, and Milano Cortina. And at Milano Cortina, it was the lowest ranked discipline in 11 of the 14 popularity indicators that they assessed. So already they've given them 4 games to get their acts together and go, you're not a popular sport. Get bigger, get better. It is an issue in terms of universality and participation. And they noted that only 5 National Olympic Committees won medals in Nordic combined across the last 4 editions of the Games. So
yeah,
you don't have a lot of participation.
It's not a surprise. Yeah, it's not a big surprise. It is disappointing, and it's certainly disappointing to the Malasinskis that we have become so fond of, the Nordic combined athletes. But you can't, and this is going to be something we're going to be looking at for Brisbane. You cannot have these sports just hanging on. There has to be worldwide participation, or at least significant continental participation. And you can't be unpopular and stick around.
Right.
And it'll be TV revenue and streaming revenue is the key to your survival.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with Nordic combined. It could be working. I mean, and the federation has known this for a long time. I don't know what they plan to do with Nordic combined as a sport. It's going to keep going, obviously, but we'll see how much it can keep going. Nordic combined will stay in the Youth Olympic Games for 2028, but because that was already on the schedule, and the discipline does have the potential to come back for Utah 2034 or future games. So we'll see if they can come back at all. But it's an OG Winter Olympic sport no longer.
But that's not going to keep you going.
No,
history is not going to keep you going. And that's, I think, the biggest change that we're going to see in the Coventry era, that history is not cement.
Yeah. The IOC is going to be proudly trumpeting that they are finally achieving gender parity by quota allocation for the first time at the Games. Females will have 50% of quota spots, and there will be pretty much gender parity in terms of the number of events for men and women, 56 for women, 55 for men, 15 mixed. 4 sports are increasing the number of females. Luge is going from 44.3% to half and half. Skiing will go from 48.6% to also 50%. Bobsleigh is going from 32.9% to 39.5%, which the big issue with bobsled is
you've got 4-man versus monobob.
Yeah, so that's a big deal.
I mean, that's actually pretty good that they're able to get that much parity. When you think about it, when you've got the 2-man and the 2 women, great, that's even. But then the other one is a monobob versus a 4-man. I mean, right off the bat, you have 3 more men than women. So even getting close to any kind of parity is really difficult.
And then ice hockey is going to go from 43.4% to 45.6%. I have been living in like Winter Olympics mode for a long time. I'm so excited about 2030 all of a sudden.
I'm glad.
We didn't even talk about where the venues are. Oh my gosh. Nice out of the picture. Everything.
Lyon
is going to be your big ice city metropolis cluster. I think there's going to be some stuff in the Lyon suburbs. So you've got your Haute-Savoie cluster, your Savoy cluster, your Briançonne cluster, or Briançonne. I'm not sure how to pronounce that yet. And then your Heron-Veen cluster. So
see, that's not there. No, I have such a problem with this. You cannot have that many clusters because what could be happening in each of those clusters but like 1 or 2 things? That's not a cluster.
Very true. I'm guessing they're taking towns and going, well, there's 1 event here and then there's 2 events here and you're kind of close together. So we will cluster you and put a village there. So there you go.
Not a cluster.
Yes. Lyon will have everything on ice except for speed skating, which will be in the Netherlands.
I I mean, I know why they're doing this, but why?
Right. It's the stadium, and that is because France has no 400-meter ice rink for speed skating. They would not like to build one. And apparently, why I wanted numbers, I wanted to know how much that temporary ice rink cost in Milano Cortina. They also opted not to do that, which I thought would be kind of a thing. But maybe Lyon, and they also had issues with trying to use Nice, and Nice finally saying, no, we don't want the games here. There may have been
Right.
place in Nice that was big enough, and maybe nothing in Lyon is big enough when you consider all of the sports that are going to happen in Lyon. So you've got Herenveen, which has a big iconic speed skating stadium in Speed Skating Mad, Netherlands, which that will be awesome. What's not awesome is how far away is everything else. And it's like a good 10-hour drive or so.
It's
Maybe
insane.
8 to 10 hours by train, because you have to go to Amsterdam and then you have to go from Amsterdam to Herenveen, and it's just insanely far away, and forget going to see speed skating. Basically, I think the Dutch will like it, and
The Dutch will be thrilled, and they'll make it the best event that we've ever seen in terms of their enthusiasm and excitement, and the atmosphere in that venue will be magical, no doubt, because the Netherlands is never going to get an Olympics.
No, and there hasn't been an Olympics since Amsterdam 1928. So
Right.
they're excited, and that's cool. But it's just going to be, it's the Alps, Tahiti.
Yeah.
I will say, I think Lyon and the rest of the clusters are only a few hours away from each other. So
Well,
when
we'll
I
see what that actually means. No, don't make that face at me. If they give me a stupid bus that I can sit on and in a normal hour, I mean, I will get up at 6, but as long as Giacomo's not driving, so I don't get sick again, then that'll be fine. But I'm not counting on that. Hate that sound.
I know, because that means we have doping news. It's 2026.
And we're still reallocating 2012.
Yes.
Which, on the one hand, I'm so glad that these people are still getting caught and still getting called out and still losing their medals. But for all the clean athletes, 14 years is a heck of a long wait.
Right. That just shows you how slow the legal process is, because a lot of
Right.
this is waiting for them to exhaust all their resources
Right.
and all their avenues. So yes, we have another medal reallocation from London 2012. And if you guessed, maybe the women's 800 meters, which is like, we read a few years ago, the dirtiest race in history, about the men's 100 meter at Seoul in 1988. They got nothing on the women's 800 meter at London 2012 now. Man, I'm waiting for that book. Yekaterina Pozitagova, who is now, last name is Guliev. She is from Russia. She had the silver medal. She was disqualified because of an anti-doping rule violation. That decision came in March 2024. The appeal was dismissed in May 2025. World Athletics has modified the results. Now that all appeals have been exhausted, the IOC is finally reallocating the medals. The original podium was a Russian whose last name is Savinova, and she had won gold. Kashta Semenya had silver, and Pozitikova, who's now Guliev, was bronze. Savinova was disqualified in 2016, so then Kashta Semenya got the gold. Guliev went to silver, and Pamela Gelamo went to bronze. Pamela's from Kenya. Now Gelamo is upgraded to silver. She originally finished in 4th. Alyssa Montano from the US will receive the bronze. She was originally 5th.
Boo hiss.
I hope this is the end of London 2012.
I agree. We are fit for the future.
We are fit for the future. A lot going on at the IOC because Kirsty Coventry's Fit for the Future platform, which I like better than the name Agenda 2020 plus 5.
This rolls off the tongue a little more smoothly.
Man, is she going to whip this organization into shape. So this is supposed to build on the foundation of previous IOC work. Athletes are at the top of the structure. Then we have the Olympic Games, Olympic Impact, and Olympic Movement. It's basically everything the IOC does is getting examined here. Each of these pillars has a goal and ambition, objectives for 2032, and commitments, which is just like when I tried to read everything that was going on with this, boggled.
Did your brain explode?
Yes, it did.
It was not fit for the future.
Oh my gosh, this was a training plan beyond all training plans.
It really is. She's such an athlete first. You know,
Right.
we're really getting this young for an IOC president, and this very different attitude towards this organization. You know, we said before that history is not cement, and Coventry is basically saying, not so much I don't care what you've done before, but just because you've done it before does not mean we're going to continue to do it this way.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how this shakes out over the next few years. One of the first changes we got was IOC membership approved changes to the charter, the Olympic charter, which is kind of their governing constitution. One change added more language about neutrality and keeping the IOC and the Olympics politically neutral, which has resulted in Russia being allowed back into the games. We will get to that. The other now says that the Olympics program is made up of sports, disciplines, and events, which we talked about earlier with Alpes 2030. I may have to call it Alpes. Alpes. What have you started? With Alps 2030, we talked about that. The IOC is going to examine everything here with sports and disciplines and events. Nothing is sacred. And what they changed in the charter is that there was a list of the international federations that were on the Olympic program. So once you made that list in the charter, you were just guaranteed to stay on. Yeah, unless you really needed to change, which was why boxing and weightlifting have stayed on so long, even though there's just been a ton of corruption and issues with their international federations over the years. Now all those federations have been taken off the charter. So it's easier to take sports on and off the program. And I can't wait to see what they do with Brisbane 2032.
You know, Kirsty Coventry does not like how big the games have gotten. She feels like they're too big, they're too sprawling, they're too expensive for cities to manage. And we're seeing that with both LA and Brisbane are kind of far-flunging some of these events because you can't do it all in one place. I mean, Paris did a pretty good job of keeping a lot of things close, but even they had to kind of, even without Tahiti, as we like to say, everybody's going to have a Tahiti now, but they still had to go further afield than they would have liked.
Shooting was in the center of the country because that's where the national stadium was. Right. And they didn't want to build a shooting stadium in Paris.
Fair enough. So now it becomes every federation, to an extent, has to prove its worth.
Yes.
I think she's going from the attitude of you're on the program, so you're going to just by default stay on the program. And now she's looking at all these sports the other way and saying, what are you bringing to the table?
Yes.
Why should you stay in? Not why should we throw you out?
Yes, very much so. It's a very different perspective. And she's very concerned about the number of fields of play, because once you start adding disciplines that require different fields of play, you are adding complexities, you are adding costs. And I think they're really getting worried about being able to hold a Summer Olympics in different cities around the world. You've already taken so many cities out of the mix. I don't know exactly who's trying to get into 2036 because you hear speculation, and we don't talk about these speculation things because they often don't go anywhere. You know, it's just wasting air, I think, sometimes.
Agreed.
To be
Agreed.
Like, you know, hey, oh, look, India wants to host again. Right. you know, they're not going to get it together in time for a while. Who knows? They may host it at some point.
And one of the things that they said today at the executive board press conference was, we don't have a date that they're going to announce the Brisbane program. They have not set that in stone. So I think they're really going to look at every single sport, every single discipline, every single event, and each one has to prove that it should be there. And we know things are going to get cut because Kirsty Coventry has already said it's too big.
Yes.
Because if you look at the way LA presents itself, it presents itself as having 51 sports, which is not exactly, you know, it depends on who you talk to, and the way that they're talking about it, it would not be 51. It would be more like 38. because they mix these discipline / sport terms. You know, they split up canoe sprint and canoe slalom, which really shouldn't be split. But still, even if you've got 38, that's too big to manage.
Yes.
So what does that mean going forward? She hasn't said how many they're going to cut because there is no goal. It's not like, okay, we want to get down to 25. No, it's we want to get down to a number where there's a reason for each of these sports to be here.
Yes. And the federations are well aware of this. Kirsty also spoke at the Association of Summer International Federations General Assembly and said, we are talking with you now. And I do believe that she is working on big dialogue with everybody and conversations with everybody involved, because she said she doesn't want this to be a surprise and doesn't want to be a mandate. Hey, we're throwing down the gauntlet and we're saying, you must do this. We're saying, okay, international federations, let's work together.
Right. And if your sport is going to stay, we want it to be a success. We want it to be a television, an attendee, and an athlete success.
I'm excited for our Substack newsletter.
We're going to start speculating as in who's in and who's out.
Yeah. So if you don't already get our free newsletter that comes out once a week, find it at flamealivepod.com. If you scroll down to the bottom, if you're on Substack already, just look for Flame Alive Pod and sign up, because this is going to be a fun game.
Wild speculation ensues. We don't have to be fit for the future. We can just put down whatever we want.
Exactly. Some of the international federations have already gotten ahead of this, because hat tip again to Rich Perlman at the Sports Examiner. He wrote about the International Canoe Federation, who announced on June 30th that it wants the Olympic canoe sprint program to be centered on 500-meter racing, complemented by long distance racing. Currently, canoe needs a venue that's at least 2 kilometers long. So that puts them way far out. They're far away from everything. Usually athletes have to stay elsewhere, or they have long travel times. So they want to be smaller, focused, and then maybe they can have more options for more venues closer in. And you go, hey, we're not as big and unwieldy as you think we are. We'll save the big races for our own world championships.
Right.
It'll be really interesting how it works. Pierre Ducret, who is the new Kit McConnell, not quite Kit McConnell, I will say.
There's no replacing Kit McConnell in my heart.
Yes.
Let's just put it there.
He is the games director at the IOC, I believe. When you're talking sports, you talk with Pierre.
He's the sport. I think it's sport program.
Okay.
Is the title.
Okay. And he says they plan to treat every federation like it should be treated, but that means they're not going to treat every federation the same way, which will be interesting. Not every session will be treated the same. So prelims are not the same as finals. So perhaps one is treated lower and one is treated higher, which may help for organizing committee planning. So if you're thinking about games delivery and the fan experience, that may mean that early sessions might not be as invested in, maybe with the bells and whistles that finals are. Don't know. We'll see what happens to that. Other things that the IOC has announced in the run-up to LA 28, international federations are going to be able to use an LA 28 qualifying event label to give it better clarity and get people more excited and have some understanding about this is a pathway to the games.
So it's not just a World Cup event. It's not just this cool thing we're doing. Oh, no. People are qualifying for the Olympics here.
Exactly. You may see more international federation branding in venues because the IOC wants people to know that the International Federation is running the field of play at the games.
Right. Because at the games, there's just a small banner. I mean, it's very small. And I don't even remember seeing it in many of the venues. It was, one venue I saw, and then I finally realized that it's always there. But it is very obscure. And the IOC would like to get some other people in trouble once in a while.
Say, no, we don't run this. A little note on the future of hospitality. As we know from talking with Paul Kane from On Location, they have the hospitality contract through LA 28. So the IOC is launching the request for proposal for 2030, 2032, and 2034. They're trying to learn what worked and what didn't work. But this time, They're also looking for dedicated options for stakeholders, like a federation lounge in a venue. It's not just a hospitality lounge. So 6 agencies have been invited to propose for this event, and they plan to award the contract in the first quarter of 2027. Also during our break, Kirsty Coventry had her first really big press gaffe.
Oopsies.
It's kind of good that we've been off, because it would have been fun to talk about it while it happened, but a lot of stuff got resolved.
Yes.
This one caused a big ruckus, and Kirsty had a big learning moment about dealing with the press. Big learning moment. Kirsty Coventry gave an interview to Alex Chapman of New Zealand's Sport Nation for a May 22, 2026 article. The headline ended up being, "I don't believe in paying athletes, IOC boss on the Olympics future." Yeah, Kirsty Coventry was talking about her Fit for the Future program and how the IOC needed to evolve. So then he writes, where they won't be evolving, though, is athlete payments. The current model for Olympians sees them financed by a combination of national sporting organizations, often through taxpayer funding, sponsorship, and self-funding. However, once they get there, they don't receive any payment for participation at the Olympics or for winning. Quote, "I don't believe in paying athletes," end quote, Coventry told Sport Nation. Quote, "I come from a small country. I come from a sport that doesn't necessarily pay athletes very well, and I still don't think we should be paying athletes at the Olympic Games," end quote. Barrel of Monkeys opened.
And what is so strange is what ended up happening from this.
So the athletes, of course, were not thrilled and caused a heck of a lot of hullabaloo online. And this caused Kirsty to push a message out on Instagram through Athlete 365, the IOC program, with an explanation and an apology, because she learned her lesson. She should have said she doesn't believe in paying athletes prize money at the Olympic Games,
which is a very different statement than what she said.
Yes. Then, after all of this hullabaloo, a couple weeks later, with the Fit for the Future program, they announce a new grant. Starting with Milano Cortina 2026, every Olympian will have the opportunity to apply for a $10,000 grant for making the games. So if you make the Olympics, you get $10,000. They talked about an application because you don't have to take the money if you don't want to, so they're making you apply for it, but they're not going to judge anybody's income. Because in one of the press conferences, somebody goes, well, our NBA basketball players and hockey players got to get this money. And she's like, we don't want to judge anybody's income. Maybe they do want it. Maybe they don't. It's not up to us to decide. If they don't want it, the money goes back into the pot. And they came up with $10,000 because an Olympic solidarity grant is $5,000, and $10,000 would get you to a couple of world championships in between in your cycle. So the IOC set aside $140 million for this initiative. They expect to pay about 14,000 Olympians per Olympiad. So that's summer and winter games. Big change.
Huge change. And what is so strange is this idea of the $10,000 grant could not have come up in just the couple weeks between her statement and when this was announced. This $10,000 she knew about. And she knew about it existing, and this was being worked out and had to be, in fact, in the final stages of being hammered out. And then she comes out and says, "I don't believe in paying athletes." So it was definitely cross purpose in her brain that was happening there, where she was answering a question that's not the question that was asked of her. And she learned very quickly that you better be careful with what you say. You are now the IOC president, and every word is going to get dissected. And then when they did announce the $10,000 grant, it seems like it was a response to what she had said, which undercuts what they're doing as well. Even though obviously you can't make up a program at the IOC that quickly. But still, it looks like I ran off and got engaged because my ex-boyfriend got married. The whole thing just didn't have good optics.
Yeah, tough. But it's a interesting program. I think it's good. It'll be helpful. They said, basically this could keep people in sport for a little while longer.
Absolutely.
And I think the importance here was paying everybody and not just the winners.
Yes.
Because winners do get a lot of stuff thrown at them. So to be able to pay somebody who comes in the middle of the pack, the bottom of the pack, and them feeling like they have just as much worth as being on the podium, that's, I think, important. The program is for Olympians only, not for Paralympians, 2 different organizations. So we will see if the IPC comes up with anything for this. Tough, because the IPC's got a lot they're trying to do.
One thing at a time.
Right? I'm pausing and sighing because we have to talk about protecting the female. Females, you will be protected at LA 28. The IOC is not going to require any qualifiers to be competed under the protection of the female rule, where you have to get a gene test to prove that you are female. But if athletes go to the game, they're going to have to do the gene testing. And they keep saying it's a one-time screening. It's not a big deal. Well, the test is not legal in some countries. So the IOC says, go to another country where it is legal.
Here's your $10,000 so you can go to another country.
Right, exactly. And don't know who's picking up the cost for the test. Right now, it seems to be the athletes have to do that. And that can be like up to $300, depending on where you live. So this isn't the best approach to, talk about slapping a program together.
Right. It's like, yes, you have to get this gene test, but you can't get it everywhere and it's expensive, but you have to get it.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see who is in and who is out because of this test, or if we'll even hear it, if that just doesn't get talked about. We have changes to the host city selection process. If you are a longtime Olympics fan, you remember there were beauty pageants. Milano Cortina was the last city chose under the beauty pageant method. Those cost a lot of money to put on. They caused a lot of cities to drop out of the process. So Thomas Bach, the predecessor to Kirsty Coventry, introduced a new way of bidding, took out the bulk of the selection process and put it behind closed doors. So there was
which a lot of people didn't like.
And not just media people, IOC members didn't like that either. You would have this dialogue process with the future host commission, and eventually when the commission thought you were getting close to ready to host, they throw you into targeted dialogue, and that was kind of a done deal, and then the membership just had to rubber stamp it once you got out. And that's how Brisbane got elected, and basically how Utah 2034 got elected, and French Alpes to an extent. But now there's going to be another step before targeted dialogue called strategic dialogue. And that's when cities will have to answer a future host questionnaire and submit their financial guarantees before they can move on to the targeted dialogue final stage before IOC membership votes. I think the IOC membership will have more visibility into what's going on. Process also seems to be shifting back to a 7-year timeline for host cities for planning, because Brisbane 2032 was 11 years out. That bid really got run through.
Yeah. They just picked them and said, you're getting it and we'll figure it out later.
Yeah. And then Utah 2034 has had 10 years, and you've seen them. They've been like, this is a long time.
Right.
And we're ready. So basically we're looking at mid 2029 for the IOC to vote on the 2036 host. Last bit of IOC news, 2 members are hitting the 70-year-old age limit for membership, but they are members serving in the capacity of a specific role. So the IOC voted to extend their IOC membership until they're done serving in their other role. They are Tricia Smith, who is the president of the Canadian Olympic Committee. Her term was extended until 2028 when she is done being president. Also, Sebastian Coe, president of World Athletics, will leave in September 2027. I am curious what World Athletics does. Oh, we haven't talked about Russia. Russia's back in the fold.
Russia's back in the fold. So they have lifted the ban provisionally on Russia and Belarus and on their Olympic committees. They have not announced what that means in terms of neutral athletes. And what Kirsty Coventry said today in the press conference was, we're going to talk about anthems and flags and all those things going forward. But because they changed the wording in the charter to be as non-political as possible, if you're kicking them out because of the war in Ukraine, you can't do that anymore because that's a political stance. So since it's a political stance, we have to accept them back in. Now, part of that expulsion, it was all about Ukraine, but it wasn't. So much of that had to do with the doping history. But because that's a separate issue, and Coventry talked about RUSADA, and if RUSADA is not compliant, we'll deal with that as a separate issue. So we'll see how this plays out. I mean, they're not going to be welcomed back with open arms to a lot of the sporting community, that's for sure.
No, and it's a federation by federation thing. And I believe World Athletics has said, no, they are still out.
Right.
So some
figure skating in the break has said they're back.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out sport by sport. Although we had Rio where there weren't Russian track athletes, with the exception of like 2 people who were able to prove that they didn't dope and were clean. It's hard because you have the caveat of Russia attacking Ukraine during the Olympic truce.
Right.
And the Olympic truce obviously now has no teeth to it if you keep that into effect. I'm curious how they're going to treat the Olympic truce in the future. But I think it also quietly says, okay, we don't want to have to say anything to America for invading Iran, also during the truce.
Right. Or Israel.
Yes.
Yeah, that eliminates a lot of other problems for them.
There wasn't as much of a stink about the U.S. because Iran had 1 Paralympian that was supposed to be at the games. If they had a team as strong as Ukraine, different story. But then you have a host city. What do you do? So I think we've tried to fix language so we can sweep this under the rug.
Pretty much. I mean, this was a big issue for Thomas Bach. I mean, he really got hammered on this. And I think Coventry is trying very hard to not deal with Russia and hope for the best.
Right. And they said they were not going to have any events in Russia. So that's off the table still. But I think they want to deal with the sporting aspect of Russia being a problem child versus the political aspect.
It'll be very interesting to see how this goes with figure skating, because figure skating significantly changed without Russian athletes.
We do have other Olympic and Paralympic news very quickly. We have an announcement from Team Belgium that their Olympic and Paralympic committees are going to merge as of January 1, 2027. They will be known as Le Comité Olympique et Paralympique Belge, or COPB. This is the 6th country to combine the 2 groups into one organization. The others are Netherlands, US, Norway, South Africa, and Saudi Arabia. This is a interesting development, and I wonder if we'll see more of these down the road. Although we wondered this when USOPC came into being. Kit news from Australia. They have launched a stretch reconciliation action plan that's part of its work of reconciliation through sport with First Nations peoples. To that end, you will see part of this effort on its kit for LA 28 and French Alpes and Alps 2030 in the form of new team artwork. It's called Dunch Dunch Kamelan Together by artists Peter Farmer Sr. and Peter Farmer Jr. from Noongar County in Western Australia and Alec Tipoti from the Torres Strait. It's a beautiful pattern that is going to be featured on all of the kit going forward for these next couple of editions. And I think that's really cool.
And they've done things with this where they've included Aboriginal art in some of the kits. So now I think they're just formalizing and using this particular print and making a point of it.
Yes. And also part of this action plan is a new scholarship called the Australian Olympic Indigenous Athlete Scholarship, designed to provide financial and career support to emerging First Nations athletes. Phew. That is a lot of news.
That's a lot of news. We take a month off and the world explodes.
I know, exactly. But wait, we're not done.
We have more news.
Book club.
Yes, book club is back for 2026. We are reading 2 books this year with Book Club Claire. First up will be a book called Heroes, Villains, and Velodromes, Chris Hoy and Britain's Track Cycling Revolution. This is by Richard Moore, who also wrote The Dirtiest Race in History. So if you've read that, you know he is a good writer. This is interesting because it's published in 2008. And we know what's happened in track cycling since then, which is, 2012. Man. So that will be on tap for August, looking mid-August for this book. And then our second book for the year will be Limitless, The Power of Hope and Resilience to Overcome Circumstance by Mallory Wegman with Tiffany Yeck Brooks. Mallory is a multi-medal winning Paralympian, and we will be looking at her book in November. Get your copies of these books at bookshop.org/shop/flamealivepod. That link will be in the show notes. Every purchase you make at bookshop.org through that link goes to support the show. And we're paying a lot of legal fees this year. This is not what we wanted. We could use all the help we can get because we've had to register our trademark again, and that costs a pretty penny. And we have had to, over the break, we've been enforcing our trademark, which also incurs some substantial legal fees, none of which I'd love to be paying, but we got to protect the trademark because we can't have people saying weird stuff and other people associating it with us. We like to keep our own weird stuff as our weird
for
stuff.
ourselves.
Right. So
we are rule 40ing people, and we do not feel shy about it.
Exactly. And to be more clear, there is another podcast out there that has started within the last few months or so called Keep the Flame Alive. It is a relationship podcast. And unfortunately for them, we own the trademark to Keep the Flame Alive. And as a podcast, they are not allowed to use it. And we're not going to be really horrible about it. If you are a longtime listener, you will know that this show used to be called Olympic Fever. And
can we even say that?
Well, we can now. We can say it. No, but and the Olympics is the intellectual property of the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee, and we are not allowed to use it in that term, especially to make money off of. So they need to protect their brand. We understood. We had to change a whole lot of things around. You will see in our very early episodes, they are all disclaimered. They were very kind to us about it. So I would like to be as kind to these people, but you can't use Keep the Flame Alive because I don't know what you're saying in your relationship talk. What if you're saying that you should only be married to your horse? Well, we talk about equestrian. I don't want people thinking that when we talk equestrian, we say horse marriage. So
of all the ways you could have gone with that is not the example I thought you were going to throw out there. But okay, let's go with it.
What did you think?
I didn't know. I really didn't know.
I had to go outlandish.
You did. I see that.
So yeah, that's been a fun legal issue to work through. And, it's just like anybody who's trying to use the terms March Madness or Super Bowl in marketing stuff or World Cup, you got to talk about the big game. But that's how we're doing it here, I guess. I don't know. It's frustrating. You want to know how the break's been? It's been frustrating, folks. But anyway, that means please buy stuff through bookshop.org/shop/flamealivepod so we can pay our legal bills and keep the show going. So that's going to do it for this episode. We appreciate you listening through this whole one. It's been a lot.
It's a lot of news happening. Things have been rolling down the hill.
We hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, please tell a friend about it and have them go to our website, flamealivepod.com, for a link to their favorite podcast app. There are links to get involved with our Facebook group, get our free newsletter, and find ways to say hello. So thank you so much for listening. It's so nice to be back and chat with you all.
And until next time, keep the flame alive.